Okay, how does it work? How do they actually clone? As always, take it or leave it. It's pretty wild. All right. So, first of all, they get the influential person's DNA. And remember, even though I've only remote viewed a cloning base in America, in the United States, I'm sure they have cloning bases all over the world. I just haven't gone there. So they essentially get the person's DNA, and then they, how do I? It's kind of like creating a baby. How do I say this? It's like creating a baby in like a fake embryo sac, like a fake uterus, but instead of creating a baby, they're creating like a full human body, and they'll do like an age progression, so the clone will come out the same age as the time of the person's DNA, if that makes sense. And then essentially that clone body will start aging from that time, so that the aging is related to the person in real life. Okay, so they're able to do that. I'm not a scientist. I have no idea how they do that, but that's what I've seen. I've seen all of the different stages of them creating these bodies, and they all get created at that age. They don't like create a baby and then age advance them. The clone body is created at the age that the DNA is taken. Okay, and then it just ages with that person, so that when and if that person needs to be replaced, they wake up the clone body, and we're going to talk about that. So, hold on. Yep. Okay. So once a clone body is ready, right, they transfer a consciousness into it. So what's really fascinating is that body is essentially just an empty vessel, and it's a bunch of machines that are keeping the body, the blood pumping, the body moving, all of that. The problem is that when a body is not connected to the technology, it can't function, right? And I know that I've looked into organic robots before, and that's a whole other story. But essentially, in order to have a body, and also there's like this whole concept of NPCs, which I believe in to an extent, but it's very nuanced. So anyway, in order for the clone body to operate, it has to have a fractal of source energy. Think about source energy, or the universal energy, or consciousness, whatever you want to call it. Think about that as the battery pack that you put into a body. The machine, the body, it's not going to move, it's not going to go, it's not going to live and exist autonomously without this fractal of source, right? This connection to energy. And so this is where it gets kind of weird, right? So essentially they have a room in this cloning facility, and in the room there are these like canisters, and in the canisters are different consciousnesses, different souls, I guess. And those souls, and I haven't gone into like how they even get the souls, like how do they even harvest the souls, which is a whole other thing that I'd be curious to look into. But essentially they take these canisters and they put it into a machine, and like imagine the clone body sort of sitting in a chair. They put the canister in a machine, and then it like kind of shoots the consciousness into the body, and that's what allows the body to function free of the machines. Now, sometimes they will use the same consciousness as the real body or the previous clone body. The reason why they would want to do that is the previous consciousness already has all of the mannerisms, all of the memories, all of the experiences of the previous clone. Typically, what they do is once they get rid of the original person, they also get rid of the original soul. The problem is that the reason why they wanted to get rid of that person to begin with is because they were rebellious. They were fighting back. Of course, they don't want to bring that rebellious spirit back into a new body. So what they do is they take kind of a random consciousness and they put it into the clone body, and then it goes through a process of programming. Very similar, very, very much so based on the old school MK Ultra programming. They will program the consciousness to work with, like we're talking about, the physical rehabilitation, the mental, the language, the dialect, everything. Like this consciousness has to now work with a brand new body, and it has to work with a series of mannerisms and everything. So it goes through about a 6-month period of intense training and programming to become that individual. That's why it's really difficult to kill someone off and bring in a clone right away. There's usually a period where that person is not seen for a long period of time when they're sort of establishing that new clone, right? It's very fascinating. Once again, take it or leave it. I get how crazy this sounds. Oh yeah. And then another interesting fact, clone bodies only last so long, kind of like what I was talking about with Michael Jackson. His was the first public clone and it really just deteriorated. There's something about, I tried asking about this, there's something about like the cells, right? Like, so as we age, we have these like half-lives, our cells they don't have like as much whatever we need to stay young and healthy. And so the clone bodies, it's almost like the aging and the deterioration is like rapid, right? And so before they would only last anywhere between 3 and 5 years if they were lucky. Nowadays, these new clones are lasting anywhere between 10 and 15 years is what I've seen. But still, they don't last very long for a variety of reasons. But it's just